The room is dimly lit by a single table lamp casting warm shadows across worn but comfortable furniture. Rain streaks down the window, creating patterns of light and shadow. I sit on my cream-colored couch with my son Ethan, just 3 years old, small and peaceful, sleeping beside me, his tiny hand clutching the fabric of my sweater. I gently stroke his dark hair, watching him breathe. On the night when he left me alone, not physically, but in that profound way, the kind that destroys you from within, I realized that love can hurt far more than any solitude. My fingers trace the outline of Ethan's face. The pain is still there, mixed with this fierce, protective love that consumes me. It's a pain you don't see coming. It arrives silently, like Seattle rain, and suddenly you're drenched, unable to find your way back to warmth. I look toward the window, watching the rain. My reflection in the glass shows a woman who has been through something devastating but survived. I'm still here. We're still here. My name is Emily. I'm 32 years old, and for a long time, I believed I had found that story you see in movies, the one that ends well. But real life doesn't have a script, and sometimes the villain of the story is exactly who you swore was the hero. I'm sitting alone at a corner table by the window in my favorite Seattle cafe. It's one of those cozy, independent coffee shops with exposed brick walls, mismatched vintage furniture, and local artwork hanging everywhere. Rain streams steadily down the large front windows, creating this soft, rhythmic soundtrack that I've grown to love. A latte with delicate foam art sits beside my open novel. A plate with half-eaten carrot cake rests nearby. I'm completely absorbed in my book, occasionally taking small bites of cake. It had been 3 years. 3 years of gray days and constant rain. That kind of rain that doesn't really fall. It just stays there, suspended in the air, soaking everything in silence. I was 29 years old, working in a small art gallery, and living that life of an independent woman. The kind everyone thinks is liberating, but sometimes it's just lonely. I take another sip of my latte, my eyes never leaving the page. I absently push a strand of hair behind my ear, lost in the story. The door chimes, a small brass bell above the entrance. I glance up briefly and see a man entering, carrying a cloth shopping bag that's falling apart. He trips slightly on his own bag, smiling sheepishly at the young waiter with a man bun and sleeve tattoos. "Still getting used to bringing my own bags," the stranger says with an embarrassed but good-natured tone. "Save the planet," they said. "It'll be easy," they said. The waiter grins and nods toward the counter. I can't help but smile at this stranger's genuine, unguarded moment. There's something refreshing about someone who doesn't take themselves too seriously. The man orders his coffee, his voice warm and friendly. I return to my book, but I'm aware of him scanning the cafe for a seat. Most tables are occupied. Then I sense him approaching my table. "That cake looks really good," he says, pointing to my carrot cake. "Like, better than most things I've seen today. And I work in architecture, so that's saying something." I'm surprised but charmed. I close my book, keeping my finger to hold my place. It is good. The best carrot cake in Seattle, actually. Or at least in this neighborhood. Bold claim. I respect that. "Have you done extensive research?" I laugh. "Every Monday for the past 6 months. I'd say that qualifies as research." He shifts his coffee cup from one hand to the other, clearly wanting to continue the conversation, but not wanting to impose. "I don't suppose... No, never mind. You're clearly busy reading." I look at him, then at my book, then back at him. Something in his expression, open, curious, without pretense, makes me make a decision that will change my life. "Would you like to try some?" I offer him a fork from the small cup of utensils on the table. Our fingers briefly touch as he takes it. We both notice. "Are you sure?" he asks, genuinely pleased. I don't usually take food from strangers. My mother raised me better than that. "Neither do I usually offer it," I reply, laughing. "My mother raised me better than that too." He sits down across from me without being formally invited. Somehow it doesn't feel presumptuous or forward. It feels natural, as if we were old friends reuniting rather than strangers meeting. He takes a bite of the cake. "Oh wow. Okay, you weren't exaggerating. This is legitimately incredible, right? The cream cheese frosting is perfect. Not too sweet, not too tangy. You sound like a food critic. I sound like someone who eats a lot of cake. We both laugh. He extends his hand across the table. I'm Michael. Michael Hartley. And before you ask, yes, I'm new in town. No, I don't know anyone, and yes, I'm probably being too forward by sitting at your table without a proper invitation. I shake his hand. The handshake lasts a moment longer than necessary. Emily Carter. And I don't mind. Forward is refreshing, actually. Michael. His name was Michael. He sat down with me without being invited, and somehow it didn't seem presumptuous. It seemed right, as if we'd been introduced years ago and were only now finally remembering it. Hours pass. The cafe has significantly emptied. The rain outside has intensified. Michael and I are still at the same table, now surrounded by multiple empty coffee cups, evidence of several refills. I find myself leaning forward, completely engaged in our conversation. So you're telling me that you chose to work in an art gallery because you failed at being an artist? Michael asks with a grin. I didn't fail, I protest, mock offended. I made a strategic career pivot. That's what everyone who fails says. I laugh. Okay, fine. I failed. Spectacularly. Turns out having passion for art doesn't automatically make you talented at creating it. I don't know. I feel like recognizing good art is its own talent. That's very diplomatic of you. I'm an architect. Diplomacy is basically our middle name. Right between this design is terrible and, yes, we can fit another bathroom there. I laugh genuinely, my whole face lighting up. I can feel him watching me, and it doesn't make me uncomfortable. It makes me feel seen. What about you? I ask. Did you always want to be an architect? Since I was 8, and built a truly terrible treehouse that immediately collapsed. My dad said, maybe you should learn how to do this properly. So I did. And here you are. Here I am, in Seattle, working on a project that's either going to make my career or destroy it. No pressure. What kind of project? His eyes light up with enthusiasm. A community center downtown. Sustainable design. Lots of natural light. Meant to serve low-income families. It's the kind of project that reminds you why you got into architecture in the first place. I watch him as he talks, noticing how passionate he is about his work. You really love it. I really do, he says sincerely. What about you? Do you love your gallery? I think about it. I do. It's small, independent, focuses on local artists. We don't make much money, but we make a difference. That sounds cheesy, doesn't it? No, it sounds perfect, actually. A comfortable silence falls between us. We both sip our coffee simultaneously, then laugh at the synchronicity. The manager, a kind-faced woman with glasses, approaches our table apologetically. I'm really sorry, folks, but we're closing up. It's almost 8. Michael checks his watch, his eyes widening in genuine shock. We've been here for 5 hours? I'm equally surprised. I had no idea. I'm so sorry, Michael says to the manager. We completely lost track of time. That's usually a good sign, the manager says with a knowing smile. You two have a good evening. We gather our belongings. I place a bookmark in my novel. Michael collects his shopping bag. We move toward the door slowly, neither of us wanting the conversation to end. Outside, rain falls steadily, creating a curtain of silver under the streetlights. The street is mostly empty, the pavement slick and reflecting colored lights from nearby shops. Michael opens a large black umbrella and instinctively holds it over both of us. Can I walk you somewhere? He asks. Or do you have a car? I'm just a few blocks away. I walk to the cafe every week. Perfect. That gives me a few more blocks to convince you to have dinner with me this weekend. I laugh, my breath visible in the cold air. I look up at him, rain misting my face despite the umbrella. You don't need a few blocks. Yes. He looks genuinely surprised and pleased. Really? Just like that? Just like that. I have a good feeling about you, Michael Hartley. Well, I hope I don't disappoint Emily Carter. We begin walking down the street together, close under the umbrella. Our shoulders occasionally touch. I'm smiling, and I can see he is too. Michael was an architect, had just moved to Seattle to work on a big project, loved old movies, and had this way of listening that made me feel important. Really important. When I spoke, he didn't look at his phone. Didn't check the time. He simply listened. And in that moment, I had never felt more seen. We stop in front of my modest but charming brick building with a green awning. This is me, I say. Can I get your number? He asks, clearly reluctant to leave. For dinner plans? Of course. I pull out my phone. We exchange numbers, our fingers fumbling slightly with cold and nervousness. Saturday? 7 o'clock? He suggests. Saturday at 7. I'll text you the details. There's an awkward but sweet moment where we both hesitate, not sure how to say goodbye. Finally, Michael leans in and kisses my cheek gently. Good night, Emily. Good night, Michael, I say softly. I go inside, turning to wave at him through the glass door. He waves back, then walks away into the rain, looking back twice. I watch him go, my hand pressed against the glass. I enter my small but cozy studio apartment, with bookshelves lining one wall, plants on the windowsill, and soft lighting from several lamps. I'm soaked from the rain despite the umbrella. I drop my bag, take off my coat, and catch my reflection in the mirror hanging by the door. I look at myself, wet hair, flushed cheeks, eyes bright with excitement. I touch my cheek where Michael kissed me, a small smile playing on my lips. When I came home that night, wet from the rain, heart racing, I already knew, even though I wouldn't admit it out loud, that he had changed something in me, in a way that no one else would be able to undo. I move to my bed and fall backward onto it, staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzes. I pick it up eagerly. The text from Michael reads, "Made it home. Still thinking about that carrot cake. And the company was pretty good too." I laugh, typing a response. My fingers fly across the screen, and I feel something I haven't felt in years. Hope. The next 3 months pass in a blur of dates, laughter, and falling deeply in love. We eat dinner at candlelit restaurants where I discover his love for Italian food. We walk along the Seattle waterfront eating ice cream even when it's too cold. We watch old movies in vintage theaters, holding hands in the dark. We cook together in his loft apartment, dancing to music while the pasta boils over. Slowly, inevitably, we build a life together. One evening, Michael and I are sitting on his leather couch in his apartment. The city lights twinkle through the large windows behind us. Michael looks nervous, genuinely nervous in a way I haven't seen him before. He takes my hand. "I need to ask you something," he says. I feel concerned by his serious expression. "You look so serious. Is everything okay?" He takes a breath. "Move in with me." My eyes widen. I open my mouth, but no words come out immediately. "I know it's only been 3 months," he continues quickly. "I know everyone will say we're moving too fast. I know all the rational arguments against it. But Emily, I don't want to wait. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to come home to you every evening. I want to build a life with you. And I want to start now." "Michael," I begin, overwhelmed. "You don't have to answer right now. Think about it. Take all the time you—" "Yes," I interrupt him. "Yes." He sounds surprised. "Yes," I repeat, smiling through tears. "Let's do this. Let's be crazy together." Michael pulls me into his arms, hugging me tightly. I wrap my arms around his neck, both of us laughing with joy and relief. 3 months later, he asked me to move in with him. My friends said I was crazy. My therapist asked if I was sure. But with Michael, certainty seemed like a luxury I didn't need. We just knew. Or at least that's what I told myself when I packed my things. We rent a charming craftsman-style house with hardwood floors, built-in bookshelves, and a backyard with a large oak tree. Michael paints the entire bedroom sage green in one weekend, because I mentioned once, in a random conversation, that the color made me feel calm. He remembers everything I tell him. Everything. 1 year later, I discover I'm pregnant. When I show Michael the pregnancy test, he holds it in his hands and cries, really cries, tears streaming down his face. I've never seen him so emotional, so vulnerable, so beautifully human. When our son Ethan is born, Michael is a perfect father. He wakes up in the middle of the night, rocks the baby against his bare chest, changes diapers without complaint, makes silly faces at breakfast, while Ethan giggles from his high chair. The kitchen smells like pancakes and fresh coffee on Sunday mornings. There is love in that house. Real love. It's as tangible as the smell of pancakes burning slightly because we're too busy kissing. The house looks lived in now. Toys scattered around, family photos on the walls, children's books stacked on the coffee table. I'm folding laundry on the couch, watching Ethan, now 2 years old, play with blocks on the floor. He's concentrating so hard, his little face serious as he tries to stack them higher and higher. The front door opens. Michael enters, later than usual. He looks tired, slightly disheveled. He drops his bag heavily by the door. "Hey, you're home late," I say. He kisses my forehead, not my lips, mechanically. Project's behind schedule. The bosses are on my back. Ethan looks up, reaching for his father. "Daddy." Michael picks him up, but there's something mechanical about it. He sets Ethan down quickly. "Daddy's tired, buddy. Go play with your trucks." I notice something but say nothing. Not yet. Ethan was 2 years old when I started to notice that something was changing. It wasn't a single event. Betrayal arrives in whispers, in small changes, in things you ignore because acknowledging them would mean admitting that your world is falling apart. I'm preparing dinner in the kitchen. Ethan sits in his high chair, eating crackers and making a mess. Michael comes home even later. I glance at the clock. 8:30 p.m. Ethan's already eaten. "I saved you a plate," I say. "I'm not hungry." He walks past me toward the bedroom. I follow him with my eyes, concerned. I move to hug him, getting close, and I catch an unfamiliar scent. Something floral. Something that isn't mine. "You're wearing different cologne," I say carefully. Michael stops, his body tensing. "What?" "Your cologne. It's not the one I bought you. It's sweeter. Floral." "You're being paranoid, Emily," he says, his voice suddenly irritated. "I probably just brushed past someone at work. Or maybe a client wore perfume. I don't know. I wasn't accusing you of anything. I was just, you're reading too much on those psychology blogs, aren't you? That thing about inherited trauma. You need to relax more." The word paranoid hangs in the air like poison. My face falls. Michael goes into the bedroom, closing the door with more force than necessary. That word, paranoid, stayed with me like a scar. Because when someone you love says you're imagining things, you start to doubt your own perception. You start to think that the problem is you. Over the following weeks, Michael starts putting his phone face down on tables. When notifications come, he reaches for his phone too quickly, too eagerly. His behavior changes in subtle ways that I notice but try to explain away. One night, while he showers, I'm sitting on the bed and his phone buzzes with a message. The preview reads, "I hate having to wait to see you again. When can you get away?" My entire body freezes. I stare at the phone, my breathing becoming shallow. My hands shake as I reach for it, then pull back. I can't unlock it. Not yet. But I've seen enough. When Michael emerges from the bathroom, I pretend nothing happened. He lies down beside me, wraps an arm around my waist. Routine, mechanical, without warmth. I lie awake all night, heart pounding, while he sleeps peacefully beside me. Ethan wakes up screaming in the middle of the night. I rush into his room, turning on the nightlight. I scoop him up, his small body trembling. "Shh, baby, it's okay. Mommy's here. You're safe." I soothe him. "Bad dream, Mommy," Ethan cries. "I know, sweetheart. It was just a dream. It can't hurt you." I rock him gently. He begins to calm down, his breathing slowing. But then, he says something that makes my blood run cold. "Mommy, Daddy is angry," Ethan says quietly. I'm careful with my response. "Why do you think that, baby?" He talks very loud at night, when you're sleeping. My arms tighten around Ethan. I force my voice to remain calm. "What does Daddy say when he talks loud?" Ethan yawns, getting sleepy again. "I don't know. Bad words. Really bad words." My blood went cold. Because I never heard Michael talking loud. I never heard him have conversations on the phone. But Ethan was hearing things. My baby was waking up to sounds I wasn't hearing. I start staying awake, pretending to sleep beside Michael. An hour after he falls asleep, his phone vibrates. He reaches for it carefully, checks it. The screen illuminates his face. His expression changes to one of happiness, anticipation, a smile I haven't seen directed at me in months. One night, when Michael finally falls into deep sleep, I carefully reach for his phone. My heart pounds so hard I'm sure it will wake him. I type in the password, Ethan's birthday. The phone unlocks. I navigate to his messages, my face illuminated by the screen's harsh blue light. My eyes scan the screen, widening with each scroll. My face crumbles. There are photos. There are words. There are plans. Specific dates. specific places, specific promises, everything documented, everything real. The worst part wasn't the photos. The worst part wasn't the words. The worst part was that none of it sounded forced. It sounded like he was happy, like he was finally being himself with someone. I carefully place the phone back on the nightstand. I lie back down, staring at the ceiling, tears streaming into my hair. I lie there for the rest of the night, wondering if I had ever really known him at all. The months that follow are the coldest of my life. Michael comes home late, always with excuses. I notice scratches on his shoulder, a purple bruise on his neck. When I ask, he says I'm paranoid. That word becomes his weapon. I find myself questioning my own perception, wondering if I'm the problem. It's a regular Sunday morning. Weak sunlight filters through the window. I'm making pancakes at the stove, going through the motions mechanically. Ethan, now 2.5 years old, sits on the floor watching cartoons, his little face too serious for a child. Michael sits on the couch reading the newspaper, a barrier between himself and his family. "Mommy, can we not go back home today?" Ethan asks, looking up from his tablet. I pause, spatula in hand. I think he's joking. "Baby, we are home." Ethan looks serious. "I heard Daddy fighting with someone. He was talking about you, and about me too, and he sounded really angry." And my hands stop moving completely. The spatula hovers over the pan. The pancake begins to burn, smoke rising. I try to keep my voice calm. "When did you hear this, baby?" "Last night. I was going to get water and I heard him in the kitchen. He was on the phone, and he said bad words. Really bad words." I set down the spatula with shaking hands. I glance at Michael on the couch. He hasn't looked up from his newspaper. That's when I knew. That's when everything connected. The late arrivals home. The distant kisses. The messages. The marks on his body. The anger that was being directed at me. At us. At his own son. I kneel down to Ethan's level, cupping his small face in my hands. "Daddy was probably just stressed about work, sweetheart." But even as I say it, I don't believe it. Days later, I wait for an evening when Michael says he needs to handle something. I get in my car and follow him. My hands shake on the steering wheel as I maintain distance from his car through Seattle traffic. I had never been the kind of woman who followed her husband. I had been the kind of woman who trusted, but trust had betrayed me first. Michael pulls into a seedy motel with flickering neon signs and cracked pavement. I park across the street, partially hidden behind another car. I watch. Michael sits in his car for a moment, then gets out and walks to room 12. He unlocks it with a key. He has a key. He goes inside. 20 minutes pass. Each minute feels like an hour. Then a silver Honda pulls up. A woman gets out, attractive, wearing professional clothes. My breath catches. I recognize her from Ethan's school. Her name is Jessica. Jessica walks to room 12 and knocks. Michael opens the door, his face lighting up in a way I haven't seen in over a year. He pulls Jessica inside, embracing her tightly, kissing her with passion and intimacy. I watched him embrace her. I watched him touch her the way he used to touch me. I watched the man I loved transform into a stranger right in front of my eyes. And something inside me broke. But this time, it broke in a way that would allow me to heal. I drive home with tears streaming down my face, my vision blurred, barely able to see the road. I pick up Ethan from my neighbor, holding myself together just long enough. I tuck him into bed, kiss his forehead, promise him everything will be okay. Then I go to the bathroom and look at myself in the mirror. I look like a woman I don't recognize, older, broken, but also, maybe for the first time in years, real. The pain is there, but it has transformed into something else. Clarity, determination, a mother's instinct to protect her child. I'm sitting on the couch in the dark living room, waiting. Michael enters, whistling softly, smelling of unfamiliar perfume. He sees me sitting in the dark and jumps slightly. "Jesus, Em, you scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark?" He moves toward me to kiss me. I stand up and step back. "We need to talk," I say. My voice is steady, cold. "About what?" he asks, feigning casual confusion. "It's late. Can it wait until morning?" "No, it can't wait. I know, Michael. I know everything." His face changes. Panic. Anger. Calculation. Then inexplicably, he laughs. "You followed me? Jesus Christ, Emily, that's crazy." You're acting crazy. My anger rises. Don't you dare call me crazy. I saw you at that motel. I saw Jessica. You don't know what you saw, he says, his voice cold now. I know exactly what I saw. Michael gets louder. You think you know, but you don't. You don't understand anything. And if you're smart, Emily, you'll keep your mouth shut about this. I stare at him, truly seeing him for the first time. That's when I understood. I had never really known him at all. Get out, I say quietly. What? Get out of this house. Now. Michael laughs bitterly. This is my house too, Emily. You can't kick me out. Watch me. Get out or I call the police and tell them everything. Michael's face darkens. He takes a step toward me, his posture threatening. You're going to regret this. I stand my ground. The only thing I regret is not seeing who you really were sooner. Now get out. We stare at each other for a long moment. Finally, Michael grabs his keys and jacket. You're destroying this family, Emily, he says at the door. I hope you can live with that. He slams the door behind him. I stand alone in the dark living room, trembling but resolute. I'm exhausted and pale, sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop. I'm searching for divorce lawyers, making notes. I hear the sound of Ethan waking up, his little footsteps padding across the hallway. He appears in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. Mommy? Where's Daddy? I close my laptop and go to him, picking him up. Daddy had to go stay somewhere else for a while, baby. Oh, okay, Ethan says, not seeming upset. His easy acceptance breaks my heart. He's already learned not to expect his father's presence. That afternoon, I'm cleaning Ethan's room while he's at preschool. I find his notebook under his bed. I open it, smiling at his childish drawings. Then I turn a page and freeze. The drawing shows 3 figures, me, Ethan, and Michael. But Michael's figure is violently scribbled over with red crayon. Above where Michael stands is a crude drawing of a monster, with black eyes and sharp teeth. Below the drawing, in Ethan's uneven handwriting, I don't want him to come home. I hold the notebook to my chest and sink to the floor, crying for my son, for the fear he's been carrying. I cried not for the marriage I was losing, but for my son, for the fear in his eyes that I hadn't protected him from soon enough. I go through Michael's laptop and find audio files, dozens of recordings of him drunk, slurring his words, talking about Ethan. The kid is too needy. Emily's ruining him. I regret having a son. My baby boy had heard these things. I realized that I wasn't just saving myself by leaving. I was saving Ethan from a man who was already emotionally destroying him. I call my best friend Claire, asking for help. Claire picks us up that afternoon without asking questions. I pack 2 suitcases with Ethan's clothes, important documents, and a few photos from before the lies started. As we drive away from the house, I finally allow myself to fall apart, sobbing in Claire's car. Michael calls dozens of times that night, sending messages saying I'm overreacting, destroying the family, that I'll regret this, but I don't regret it. For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. I'm sitting in a lawyer's office across from attorney Margaret Chen, a sharp, compassionate woman in her 40s. Documents are spread across the desk. You have excellent documentation here, Margaret says. The recordings, the text messages, this will help your case significantly. And custody? I ask nervously. Will I get full custody? Based on the evidence of emotional abuse and neglect, I'm confident we can secure primary custody with supervised visitation. My shoulders sag with relief. The legal process is painful, but I have proof and strength I didn't know I possessed. I file a police report, document everything. The judge grants me primary physical custody. Michael gets supervised visitation every other weekend, pending completion of anger management counseling. Ethan and I stand in the empty living room of a modest 1-bedroom apartment. It's small, but filled with light. This is our new home, Ethan asks. I kneel to his level. This is our new home. What do you think? It's smaller, he says with a small smile. I laugh. It is smaller, but it's ours, and we're going to make it perfect. I paint the walls yellow, put flowers in the window. It's not the perfect house I dreamed of, but it's safe. Weeks later, Ethan and I paint his bedroom sky blue together, getting paint everywhere, laughing. I get a job at a local cafe as a barista. It's the same kind of place where I met Michael. ironic in its own way. But this time, I'm not looking for love. I'm looking for peace. And slowly, it comes. Ethan stops having nightmares. He starts smiling again, laughing at my jokes, sleeping through the night without fear. I tuck Ethan, now 3 years old, into bed in his fully decorated room. Dinosaur posters, bookshelves full of books, his drawings covering one wall. He looks content, healthy, happy. Ready for a story? I ask. He nods eagerly. The one about the dragon. As I read, doing silly voices, Ethan's eyes grow heavy. "Mommy?" he says sleepily. I don't have bad dreams anymore. My eyes fill with tears, the good kind. That's because you're safe now. We both are. I love our home. Ethan murmurs. My voice is thick with emotion. I love it too, baby. So much. Ethan stopped having nightmares. He started smiling again. And I learned something that took me years to understand. Healing isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering who you were before someone else's darkness dimmed your light. It's a beautiful sunny day in the park. Families are everywhere, children playing. I sit on a bench, coffee in hand, watching Ethan play on the playground. He's running, laughing, chasing another child. A man, late 30s, warm eyes, easy smile, approaches the bench. Mind if I sit? All the other benches are taken. I glance at him. Sure. He sits, maintaining a respectful distance. We both watch our children play. Which one's yours? He asks. I point. The one in the blue shirt. Ethan. Mine's the girl in the yellow dress. Lily. She's 6 going on 16. I laugh. Genuine and easy. Over the following weeks, we see each other at the park every Saturday. Our friendship grows naturally, without pressure. James is kind, patient, good with children. He doesn't make promises he can't keep. He shows up, not just physically, but emotionally. A year later, I met someone else. Someone kind. But here's the thing I want you to understand. That person didn't heal me. I healed myself. The love I was searching for has always been inside me. I just forgot where to look. My apartment looks lived in and loved. Photos, art, signs of life everywhere. James and I are sitting on the couch watching a movie, his arm around my shoulders casually. Ethan appears in his bedroom doorway in pajamas. Mommy, can James read me a story tonight? Ethan asks. James and I exchange glances. Would you mind? I ask him. I'd love to, James says warmly. James and Ethan walk to the bedroom together. I watch them go, my heart full but cautious. I've learned to be careful, to protect myself and my son, but also not to close myself off completely. Later, after James leaves, I sit on the couch with Ethan asleep beside me. I gently wake him and carry him to his bed, tucking him in with infinite tenderness. I watch him sleep peacefully, his face relaxed and safe. Every time I look at Ethan, who is happy and healthy and no longer afraid, I know I made the right choice. I kiss his forehead one more time, then quietly leave the room, pulling the door almost closed, but leaving it open a crack, just how he likes it. I make myself tea in the small kitchen, moving with the comfort of someone at home in their space. I wrap myself in a soft cardigan, pick up the mug, and walk to the large window. I stand there looking out at rain-soaked Seattle, the city lights reflecting in puddles, rain streaming down the glass. I hold my mug with both hands, steam rising around my face. Looking back now, I don't regret the time with Michael, because it taught me something essential. Real love isn't about sacrifice. It's about safety. It's about someone who sees you completely, the good and the bad, and chooses you anyway, every single day. Behind me, I can see my apartment reflected in the window. Small, modest, but full of light and love. Photos of Ethan and me, his artwork, signs of a life rebuilt from ashes into something stronger. I am no longer the woman who walked into that cafe in Seattle believing in fairy tales. I am someone who learned to choose herself, who learned to protect her child, who learned that sometimes losing someone is how you find yourself. I set down my tea and pick up my phone. I open a text thread with James and type, "Thank you for today." Ethan hasn't stopped talking about the aquarium. His response comes quickly. "My pleasure. Lily wants to know when we can see you guys again. To be honest, so do I." I smile, my face softening with cautious hope. I type back, "How about Saturday?" I set my phone down and return to the window. The rain continues to fall, steady and relentless, but it no longer feels lonely or oppressive. It's just rain, just Seattle, just home. Sometimes, walking away from someone is how you walk toward your own life. You are never alone, and life begins again the exact moment you decide to stop going back to the wrong home. The sound of Ethan stirring in his room catches my attention. I set down my mug and go to check on him, moving through my small apartment with purpose and grace. In Ethan's room, he's kicked off his blankets. I gently cover him again, smoothing his hair back from his forehead. He murmurs something in his sleep, unintelligible but peaceful. No nightmares, no fear, just the dreams of a child who knows he's safe and loved. I sit on the edge of his bed for a moment, watching the gentle rise and fall of his chest. This is what I fought for, this peace, this safety. This quiet moment of a mother watching her child sleep without the shadow of fear hanging over us. I think about the woman I was 3 years ago, sitting in that cafe with my book and my carrot cake, lonely but hopeful, waiting for love to find me. I think about the woman I became during my marriage, slowly eroding under the weight of lies and manipulation, doubting my own perception, losing myself piece by piece. And I think about the woman I am now, stronger than I ever imagined I could be, scarred but healing, broken but rebuilt into something more resilient. The journey wasn't what I expected. The fairy tale ended with me saving myself, and somehow, that's more powerful than any prince ever could have been. I lean down and whisper into Ethan's hair, so softly he can't possibly hear in his sleep. We did it, baby. We're free. I stand, take one last look at my peacefully sleeping son, and walk back to the living room. The apartment is quiet, except for the sound of rain against the windows and the distant hum of the city. I pick up my tea, now lukewarm, and drink it anyway. I look around my small space, every corner earned through courage, every piece of furniture chosen with intention, every photograph a testament to survival. My phone buzzes with another text from James. Saturday sounds perfect. Sleep well, Emily. I reply with a simple heart emoji, then set the phone down. I'm learning to let people in again, slowly, carefully, on my own terms. I'm learning that trust can be rebuilt, that love can exist without fear, that relationships can be safe spaces instead of battlegrounds. But I've also learned that I don't need anyone to complete me. I'm already whole. The rain intensifies, drumming harder against the window. I watch it for a long moment, then smile. I used to hate Seattle rain, used to see it as oppressive and endless. Now I see it as cleansing, washing away the past, making room for new growth. I think about Michael sometimes, though less and less as time passes. I wonder if he ever reflects on what he lost, if he ever takes responsibility for the damage he caused, if he's capable of change. But mostly, I don't think about him at all. He's become a character in a story I used to live, a cautionary tale I'll one day share with other women who need to hear that they're not crazy, they're not paranoid, they're not overreacting. Their instincts are right. Their pain is valid. Their strength is real. I finish my tea and rinse the mug in the sink. I turn off the living room lamp, check the locks on the door, a habit I can't break, a small price for peace of mind, and head to my bedroom. Before I go to bed, I stop one more time at Ethan's door, peeking in to make sure he's still sleeping peacefully. He is. He always is now. In my own room, I climb into bed, pulling the covers up to my chin. The sheets smell like the lavender detergent I like, a small luxury I allow myself. I close my eyes, and for the first time in years, I fall asleep quickly, deeply, without the weight of dread pressing on my chest. No racing thoughts about where my husband might be, or what he might be doing. No anxiety about confrontations or lies. No fear that tomorrow will bring another crack in the foundation of my life. Just sleep, just peace. Just the quiet confidence that Ethan and I will wake up tomorrow morning, safe, together, free. Outside, the rain continues to fall on Seattle, washing the streets clean, filling the gutters, nourishing the endless green that makes this city beautiful despite the gray. Inside my small apartment, 2 people sleep peacefully, a mother and her son, survivors both, building a life that's smaller than what we once had, but infinitely more precious, because it's built on truth instead of lies, on safety instead of fear, on love that protects, instead of love that destroys. If you could see us from the outside, you'd see our apartment building, rain streaming down the windows, lights glowing from within like small beacons of hope in the darkness. Dozens of other windows, dozens of other lives, dozens of other stories unfolding behind glass and walls. Some are happy, some are struggling, some are ending, some are just beginning. My story is just one among millions, but it matters. It matters because I made the choice that so many struggle to make. I chose myself. I chose my child. I chose truth over comfortable lies. I chose the terrifying uncertainty of starting over, instead of the soul-crushing certainty of staying in a situation that was slowly killing me from the inside out. And in choosing those things, I gave Ethan something invaluable. I showed him what strength looks like, what self-respect looks like, what it means to protect the people you love, even when it costs you everything you thought you wanted. One day, when he's older, I'll tell him the full story. I'll explain why I left his father, why we had to start over, why some people who say they love you aren't capable of loving anyone. Not really, not in the way that matters. I'll tell him that love should make you feel safe, not scared, that it should build you up, not tear you down, that it should give you wings, not chains. But for now, he's just a little boy who knows that his mother loves him, that our small apartment is home, that he can sleep without nightmares, that tomorrow will bring breakfast and cartoons, and maybe a trip to the park if the rain stops. For now, that's enough. For now, that's everything. Ethan and I continue to build our life together in Seattle. Michael maintains supervised visitation but is no longer the center of our world. I've enrolled in evening classes to become a counselor for women leaving abusive relationships. I want to help others find the courage I found, to tell them they're not alone, that their instincts are valid, that survival is possible. James and I are taking our relationship slowly, building something real on a foundation of honesty and respect. There's no rush, no pressure, no desperate need to fill a void, just two people who enjoy each other's company and are willing to see where it goes. Ethan thrives. He still loves carrot cake, drawing, and making me laugh. He no longer has nightmares. His smile comes easily now, genuine and bright. When I watch him play, I see a child who knows he's safe, who trusts that the world can be a good place, who hasn't been broken by what he witnessed. This story is for every person who has found the courage to walk away from what was hurting them and walk toward what will heal them. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not overreacting. Your instincts are right. Your pain is valid. Your strength is real. And life is waiting for you on the other side of fear. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out. National Domestic Violence Hotline 1-800-799-7233. Somewhere in Seattle, somewhere in America, somewhere in the world, there's another person like me sitting in a cafe, about to meet someone who will change their life, for better or worse. And somewhere else, there's someone who's already deep in that path, already doubting themselves, already being told they're paranoid, already trying to convince themselves that the red flags they're seeing aren't real. And somewhere else, there's someone who's just picked up the phone to call a friend, to ask for help, to take the first terrifying step toward freedom. This story is for all of them. To tell them what I learned the hard way, that sometimes the person you need to save is yourself, that sometimes the hero of your story has to be you, that sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you'll ever do. The rain will keep falling in Seattle. Seasons will change. Years will pass. Ethan and I will grow and heal and build a life that's more beautiful than anything I imagined in that cafe 3 years ago. Because it's real. It's safe. It's ours. And one day, maybe years from now, I'll be sitting in a cafe, maybe even the same one where I met Michael, and another woman will sit down at my table, and we'll start talking, and I'll recognize the look in her eyes, that mixture of hope and fear and loneliness and longing, and I'll know, with the wisdom that only comes from experience, exactly what she needs to hear. I'll tell her about strength she doesn't know she has, about intuition that should be trusted, not dismissed, about love that heals instead of love that harms, about the difference between being alone and being lonely, and how sometimes you have to choose the first one to escape the second. And maybe, just maybe, she'll listen, and maybe just maybe, she'll make the choice that saves her life before it's too late. Because that's how these stories spread. Not through dramatic rescues or fairy tale endings, but through quiet conversations between people who understand, who've been there, who survived and came out the other side changed but whole. My story is over in one sense. The worst is behind me now. But in another sense, it continues. It continues in every person who chooses themselves, who protects their children, who walks away from what's destroying them, who starts over with nothing but courage and hope. The story continues in every person who reaches out a hand to help someone else escape, in every therapist who listens without judgment, in every lawyer who takes on cases that need to be fought, in every friend who shows up with a car and doesn't ask questions and just says, "I'm here. I'll help." The story continues because it has to, because there are too many people like I was, and too many people like Michael was, and too many children like Ethan caught in the crossfire. Because domestic abuse, emotional, verbal, physical, is an epidemic that thrives in silence and withers in the light. Because every time someone shares their story, every time someone says "me too," every time someone extends a hand to help another person out of the darkness, the world becomes a little bit safer for all of us. So my story doesn't end with the end, but with to be continued. Continued in the lives of everyone who reads it and recognizes themselves. Continued in the choices people make after they hear stories like mine. Continued in the conversations that start with, "I read this story and it made me think," and end with, "Thank you for telling me. I needed to hear that." The rain falls in Seattle. I sleep peacefully. Ethan dreams without fear. And somewhere, another person is making the choice that will save their life. The story continues. It always continues. Because hope is contagious. Because courage is catching. Because every person who breaks free makes it a little bit easier for the next person to do the same. And that's the real ending. Not happily ever after, but hopefully ever after. Not perfect, but peaceful. Not without scars, but healed enough to help others heal too. My apartment glows in the Seattle night, a small beacon of light in the darkness. Inside, 2 people sleep safely. Outside, the rain washes everything clean, and tomorrow the sun might come out, or it might not. But either way, Ethan and I will wake up together, in our home, free, and that's enough. That's everything.